need while I'm working with those 7 kids. It's just it's a very long process to kind of figure that out. It's not instantaneous like a teacher would want. It's something that you hope you get right, and you hope that it's helping them. And most of the time, honestly, it's really not.
So would you say that Khan Academy has made your job as a teacher easier or harder, or how do you think about that?
Okay, Khan Academy has made my job as a teacher easier, but I believe it's made me work harder. So it makes it easier because, again, data is just such an important type of piece in teaching. If I know exactly where my kids are at any given moment of any given day, I mean, that's powerful. So that's where it makes it easier. It lets me address my students' needs on a daily basis right through that data. It makes me work harder because I need to spend more time looking through that data and finding ways to make sure that I'm servicing my students that need one-on-one attention or small group attention, and still making sure that my children are who need to be enriched, make sure that they're enriched. But Khan Academy does that. But I think the part that makes it harder for me is that I need to spend more time really truly analyzing that data. I guess you could say it makes me work smarter. That makes sense.
Yep. So, and then I'm wondering about like kind of individual kids. So can you think about some of the kids who were struggling either in the beginning or during certain units, and how did that impact the way that you were able to help them, or that they were able to engage with math?
I think the students who have been struggling all year long are the ones that probably appreciate Khan Academy the most, because they can sit behind their computer and they truly can work at their own pace, and that's a huge impact. They don't have to have the worry of, oh my gosh, he's going to call on me, or oh my gosh, I'm going to be working in this group and I'm not going to quite know how to be part of that group and contribute. So it really has impacted them because they really can just sit there and really work at their own pace. And I know how much they love that, and I can think of 3 students right off the top of my head right now who have made such tremendous growth because they're able to just, again, in the confines of their own room at home when they're working on, or even just in a room of 27 kids, nobody knows what they're working on except for me. And I think that in itself has been tremendous for them.
So it seems like peer coaching is an important part of what the Covington School and what you've done in your classroom. What do you do to set this up, or how is this different than how they were interacting with each other before? How did you enable this?
You know, the peer coaching part of Khan Academy really developed all on its own, because of course kids learning at different levels, moving at different levels. Kids know who is good at certain things within a class, and they seek those kids out. So when they get stuck on a problem and they've watched one of the videos and they've done practice, and sometimes even I've tried to help them, right, and they just can't quite get there, they'll seek out one of their classmates to actually help them. And I think that's a much less intimidating situation than if they had to call me over there to help them. So the peer tutoring part just developed on its own, and now I think I've got 3 or 4 kids who have been deemed by my class as the ones, like the go-to guys, and they basically have been great working with their classmates, and it's just something that really just happened all of a sudden. And I remember the day it happened, because I was a little uneasy about them getting out of their seats right away, only because I wasn't sure why they were starting to get up and move around. But then when I took a little time to listen and find out what they were doing, I realized, wow, how powerful is that? How great is that? And that's the way it's been every day now.
Do you find that they always go to the same kids, or are different kids good at different subjects, and that they get tapped in for does it enable more kids to participate in that kind of coaching aspect?
When the kids are seeking other students out, I think that they generally tend to go to the same 3 or 4 or 5 kids. And I say that though because at this point in May, the kids are working on, I said, topics that are probably a little bit higher than the level. But there are 2 or 3 kids in my class who work consistently at home with their parents on some of these things, and they are pretty close to proficient for an 11-year-old in that area. So I think where we are now, the kids know exactly who really truly gets it, and those are the ones they directly go for. Earlier in the year though, I think the kids who were seeking help actually would seek out those they were comfortable with, not necessarily those who might know certain topics. I don't think they could figure it out who knew what yet. You know what I mean? So that's, again, in any given day, depending on topics and modules being worked on, it could be anybody that's up and out of their seat.
What are the challenges with peer coaching?
Well, one of the challenges with peer coaching is hoping that when a peer is sitting with another peer, that the peer coach is not just basically giving that other student the answer to help them gain energy points or gain a badge or any of the things that they could earn, right? That's one of the things that I'm always concerned about. So the way I actually handled that was when the peer tutoring piece became big, I actually sat down and modeled what peer tutoring looks like for them. So we went through this little role play thing with them, and they understand now that peer tutoring is not, let me just give you the answer so you can get your streak of 10. Let me actually become your teacher and kind of lead you to that answer. So it actually has transformed beautifully.
My question was, what are the rewards? It sounds like that might be one of the rewards, but what are the rewards for having the students being the peer coaching?
I think the rewards for peer coaching are totally intrinsic. I think that the kids just enjoy the fact that others want them to actually sit with them and teach them. In fact, I know one of the students in my class who tends to be introverted and shy. He's being called upon a lot, and I think what a boost for just his self-image and his self-esteem alone, besides the fact that he's extremely talented mathematician. So that's really the rewards for them. It's really intrinsic. And I know that Khan Academy is considering trying to include some type of badge reward within the system for kids who actually peer tutor and peer coach, although I don't think it's done yet, but we did talk about that, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. There's a little bit more about data. I know that energy points are one of the big things that the kids are excited about. So how do you use energy points today, and how has that routine kind of changed throughout the year? How have you facilitated that?
Yeah, energy points energy points were a huge part of my class when we first started back in late November. That was the way kids could tell, how they were doing. That was the competitive part. So the way I was using it back then was we were having table competitions. My classroom set up in tables of 5 tables of 5 kids, let's say. So at any given day when we were doing Khan Academy, at the end of that 30-minute session, the kids would tally up their energy points as a group and then average it out. And the way I incorporated that into my behavior management system was we would give rewards. We would count rewards to those tables who averaged the most energy points per day. So a huge part of the beginning, which really was the motivating factor for them to really want to work through it. And that was big then, but over time, actually, the energy points became less important to the kids. And I kind of backed off doing the averaging part and the reward part, because the badges became a big part now. And kids are working really hard to earn different types of badges, and they earn them for doing many different types of things. But just the other day, one of my students actually surpassed the 1 million energy point mark. So then energy points became big again, right? So then I had a second student go for that. So it's really amazing how it kind of comes in and goes out, it comes in and goes out, and it's almost like the gaming aspect of it.
We're doing on time and such.